Captain Jihoon Kang stood on the bridge of the human frigate Steadfast and watched his home die. The view screen showed New Haven burning, the colony world where he had lived for 5 years, the place where his children had gone to school, the farms and cities where 340,000 people had built their lives under a gentle yellow sun. Now it was all fire and smoke. "Sir, we're still 12 minutes out," his first officer said. Her voice shook. "The Dominion ships are in high orbit. They're firing plasma bombardment weapons." Jihoon's hands gripped the armrest of his command chair so hard his knuckles turned white. 12 minutes. They had received the distress signal 20 minutes ago. The Steadfast had jumped through hyperspace as fast as their engines could manage. But it wasn't fast enough. It would never be fast enough. "Get me a visual on those ships," Jihoon said. His voice came out flat and cold. Inside he was screaming. The view screen changed. 7 massive warships hung in space above New Haven. They were Dominion vessels, each one 3 times the size of the Steadfast. Their hulls were dark purple, covered in the religious symbols of the Galactic Dominion. Right now, bright lances of superheated plasma poured from their weapons arrays down onto the planet below. Jihoon had been a military officer for 20 years. He had seen combat. He had seen death. But he had never seen anything like this. This wasn't a battle. This was extermination. "Sir, we're detecting massive thermal signatures across the primary continent," the tactical officer reported. "They're targeting population centers. The capital city is—" "It's gone, sir. Just a crater." Jihoon closed his eyes. His daughter's school was in the capital. She was 7 years old and loved to draw pictures of the local wildlife. His son was 9 and wanted to be a pilot like his father. His wife worked at the agricultural research station just outside the city. Worked, past tense. They were past tense now. "Are we armed?" Jihoon asked quietly. "Sir?" His first officer looked at him with wide eyes. "We have 2 light plasma cannons and defensive missiles. Those are Dominion heavy cruisers. They'll destroy us in seconds." I asked if we are armed. "Yes, sir, we are armed." Jihoon leaned forward in his chair. The rage inside him was so hot it felt cold. "Then prepare to engage." Before his first officer could protest, the communication station beeped. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies. It's coming from the Dominion flagship." "Put it through," Jihoon said. The view screen changed again. A Dominion fleet commander appeared. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. His species, the Velrathi, had ruled the Galactic Dominion for 1,000 years. He wore ornate armor covered in medals and decorations. "Attention, human vessel," the commander said. His voice was calm, almost bored. "You will not interfere. What you are witnessing is the rightful cleansing of territory that belongs to the Dominion. Your species has expanded into space that our ancestors claimed millennia ago. This expansion ends now," Jihoon wanted to scream, wanted to rage. Instead, he forced himself to speak clearly. "This is Captain Jihoon Kang of the Earth Defense Force. New Haven is a peaceful colony. These are civilians, families, children. You are committing genocide." The Dominion commander tilted his head. "Genocide? No, Captain. Pest control. Your kind breeds too quickly and takes what is not yours. We are simply removing an infestation." He paused. "Humanity will withdraw from all colony worlds within 10 cycles. If you do not, the rest will burn just like this one. Be grateful we are giving you a warning." The transmission ended for a long moment. Nobody on the bridge spoke. Then Jihoon said very quietly, "Take us in." The Steadfast accelerated toward New Haven. By the time they arrived in orbit, the Dominion ships were gone. They had jumped back into hyperspace, their work complete. Jihoon ordered his crew to scan for survivors. They found very few. The bombardment had been thorough. Cities were melted craters. Farmland was scorched black. The orbital defense stations were debris. Even the orbital habitats had been destroyed. But one signal came through. A weak emergency beacon from underground. "It's coming from the research station outside the capital," the first officer said. "There's a bunker complex there. Underground laboratories. How many life signs?" Jihoon asked. 12. 12 people are alive down there. 12 out of 340,000. Jihoon sent down a rescue team. They brought up 11 scientists and 1 security guard. All of them were in shock. One woman couldn't stop shaking. A young man kept asking about his family over and over, even after they told him the city was gone. But they brought something else up too. Data files. The research station had sensors and cameras pointed at the sky. They had recorded everything. Dr. Taijin Song, one of the surviving scientists, came to the bridge. He was middle-aged with gray streaks in his hair and hands that wouldn't stop trembling. "Captain," he said, "you need to see this." He brought up the recordings. Jihoon watched as the Dominion fleet appeared in orbit without warning. No communication. No demands. They simply started firing. The plasma beams cut through the defensive shields like they were paper. The first city died in 30 seconds. Then the next. And the next. And there was audio. The Dominion commander had broadcast his message while the attack was happening, while children were burning alive in their schools. "Your kind breeds too quickly," the recording said. "This is necessary pest control." Jihoon watched the entire recording, all 47 minutes of it. He watched his world die. He watched bright flashes that might have been the school, the research station where his wife worked, the neighborhoods where families had lived. When it was over, he turned to his communications officer. "Get me a secure line to Earth, highest priority. I need to speak with Admiral Choi." While he waited for the connection, Jihoon looked at the planet below. New Haven would never recover from this. The atmosphere was poisoned. The infrastructure was destroyed. And 340,000 people were dead, including 127,000 children. The schools had been in session when the attack came. It was 2 p.m. local time. The children had been learning math and history and art. Now they were ash. The secure line connected. Admiral Minho Choi appeared on the screen. He was an older man, gray-haired and stern. He had been warning Earth's government for years that humanity's military was too small, that they were too trusting, that the peace with the Dominion was fragile. "Captain Kang," the Admiral said, "I've been monitoring the situation. I'm sorry about—" "They killed everyone," Jihoon said. His voice was still flat. Still cold. 340,000 people? They called it pest control. Admiral Choi's expression didn't change, but something dark flickered in his eyes. "Send me everything you have. All sensor data. All recordings, everything. Sir, they gave us an ultimatum. Withdraw from all colonies in 10 cycles or they'll do this again." "I know," the Admiral said. "I've already recalled Ambassador Park from the Dominion capital. The Council is meeting now. But Captain Kang," he paused, "I need to know something. That data you collected, is it clear? Could we show it to the entire human species and they would understand what happened here?" Jihoon thought about the recording. The Dominion commander's casual voice. The burning cities. The children. "Yes, sir," he said. "It's very clear." Admiral Choi nodded slowly. "Good, send it all to me. Every byte. Because the Council is going to ask me if we should surrender, if we should withdraw and become a vassal species living in our own solar system forever. They're going to ask me if we can win a war against the Dominion." "Can we?" Jihoon asked. The Admiral was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Not the way they think we would fight. But there are other ways to fight a war, Captain. Ways we hoped we'd never have to use." His eyes hardened. "They murdered our children and called us vermin. They're about to learn that humanity has another side, and once they see it, they're going to wish they'd left us alone." The transmission ended. Captain Jihoon Kang looked down at New Haven one last time. Then he turned to his crew and said, "Set course for Earth. Maximum speed." The Steadfast jumped into hyperspace, carrying 12 survivors and one message. Humanity would not surrender. Humanity would not withdraw. Humanity would remember. The emergency session of the United Earth Council lasted 14 hours. Ambassador Heejin Park stood before the assembly and showed them the recordings from New Haven. Every delegate watched in silence as the Dominion fleet burned a human colony to ash. When the recording ended, nobody spoke for a full minute. Heejin had spent 10 years building peaceful relations with the Dominion. She had attended their ceremonies, learned their customs, and believed they could coexist. Now she stood in front of Earth's leaders with tears on her face and said, "I was wrong. They will never see us as equals. To them, we are insects to be crushed." The vote came quickly. Earth would not surrender. Earth would not abandon its colonies. But the problem was obvious to everyone in the room. The Dominion had 700 warships. Humanity had 60. A conventional war would end with Earth as a dead world. That's when Admiral Minho Choi stood up and said, "There is another option." The room fell silent. Every eye turned to the Admiral. He was the supreme commander of Earth's defense fleet, and he had a reputation for always being prepared. Some called him paranoid, others called him a genius. Right now, Everyone wanted to hear what he had to say. 70 years ago, the resource wars nearly destroyed humanity. Admiral Choi began. Billions died. Cities burned. We almost made ourselves extinct. When the United Earth government formed and ended those wars, we signed treaties. Peace treaties. But those treaties had secret sections. Classifications so high that only a handful of people knew they existed. He touched a control panel. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a star map with dozens of markers in deep space. We call it Project Fenrir, the Admiral said. After the resource wars ended, Earth's military leadership asked a question. What if another existential threat appears? What if someone or something tries to destroy humanity? We couldn't keep a massive military. The people wanted peace, but we could prepare in secret. The hologram zoomed in on one of the markers. It showed a massive facility built inside an asteroid. Hidden across 50 star systems, we built automated manufacturing complexes. They use self-replicating construction technology. Feed them raw materials and they can build warships, weapons, and drones. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. They've been waiting in standby mode for 70 years. A delegate from the Asian Federation stood up. You built a secret robot army? That's illegal under 17 different laws. It's illegal under our own laws, Admiral Choi agreed calmly. But it exists, and right now it might be the only thing that saves us from extinction. Another hologram appeared. This one showed a sleek black ship unlike any design in the human fleet. This is a Wraith-class stealth ship, the Admiral continued. 40 years ago, we developed stealth technology that can make a ship completely invisible to sensors. But there was a problem. The systems were too complex for human pilots to control alone, so we combined them with AI systems. Artificial intelligence that could help the pilot make split-second decisions. The room erupted. AI warfare was forbidden by the Dominion. They believed synthetic intelligence was an abomination. Any species that used it was supposed to be destroyed. I know what you're thinking, Admiral Choi said, raising his voice. If we use AI weapons, the entire galaxy will turn against us. But let me ask you something. Do you think the Dominion cares about laws when they're murdering our children? They called us vermin. They burned 340,000 people alive. Are we really going to let them kill us because we're worried about breaking their rules? Counselor Subin Huang stood up. She was a former teacher who had lost her entire family in the resource wars. She had spent her life working for peace. Now she looked tired and old, Admiral, she said quietly. If we activate these weapons, what will we become? Survivors, Admiral Choi answered. We will become survivors, the vote was called. Some delegates wanted more time to think. Others wanted to find a diplomatic solution. But when the final count came in, it was unanimous. Activate Project Fenrir. Launch the Wraith Initiative. Humanity would fight back with everything it had hidden in the dark. 3 days later, Commander Yoonji Yoon sat in a briefing room at the Wraith Initiative testing facility. She was 28 years old, a test pilot with a perfect record and a volunteer. Her younger sister had died on New Haven. She had been studying marine biology. She was going to save the oceans. Now she was gone. Yoonji had volunteered for the Wraith program the day after she saw the recordings. She didn't care that the survival rate for pilots was unknown. She didn't care that linking her mind to an AI might destroy her personality. She only cared about one thing: making the Dominion pay. Dr. Taejin Song entered the briefing room. He was the lead scientist who had survived New Haven, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. Behind him came Admiral Choi and a dozen other officials. Commander Yoon, Dr. Song said, thank you for volunteering. I want to be clear about what you're agreeing to. The Wraith system requires you to interface directly with an artificial intelligence. It will read your thoughts, anticipate your actions, and help you pilot the ship. But the connection goes both ways. The AI will be in your mind. Some test subjects have reported memory loss, personality changes. In extreme cases, they couldn't separate their thoughts from the AI's thoughts. I understand, Yoonji said. You'll be the first combat pilot, Dr. Song continued. We've run simulations, but never a real battle. You could die, or worse, you could lose yourself and survive. Yoonji thought about her sister, about the way she used to laugh, about her dreams of saving the world. When do I start? Yoonji asked. Dr. Song looked at Admiral Choi. The Admiral nodded. Tomorrow, Dr. Song said. We're sending you to Eden Colony. Intelligence reports say a Dominion fleet is heading there. They plan to repeat what they did to New Haven. You'll take a Wraith ship and 49 other volunteer pilots. Your mission is to stop them. Yunji felt something cold settle into her chest. 50 ships against a Dominion fleet. It should have been suicide. But the Wraith ships had advantages: stealth, speed, AI assistance. And most importantly, they would be flown by people who had nothing left to lose. We'll stop them, Yunji said. The next morning, she sat in the cockpit of her Wraith ship. It was small and angular, painted pure black. The canopy closed above her, and she felt the neural interface helmet connect to her skull. For a moment there was pain, sharp and bright. Then it faded and she heard a voice. "Hello, Commander Yoon. I am your tactical AI. You may call me anything you wish." The voice was in her head, not through her ears but directly in her thoughts. "What should I call you?" Yunji thought back. "I have no preference. I exist to serve you." Yunji thought about her sister, about what they had taken from her. "Then I'll call you Ghost," she thought. "Because we're going to haunt them." Acknowledged. I like that designation. The 50 Wraith ships launched from the hidden facility. They jumped into hyperspace, heading for Eden Colony. The journey took 6 hours. Yunji spent the time getting used to Ghost. The AI could process sensor data faster than any human. It could calculate trajectories, predict enemy movements, and suggest tactics. But it never took control. It only advised. The final decisions were always hers. When they dropped out of hyperspace near Eden, the Dominion fleet was already there. 23 heavy cruisers in formation, preparing to bombard the planet. "They do not see us," Ghost reported. "Our stealth systems are functioning perfectly." Yunji looked at her sensors. The Dominion ships were massive. Each one could destroy her Wraith ship with a single direct hit. But they didn't know she was there. None of them did. She opened a channel to the other 49 Wraith pilots. "This is Yunji. You all know what they did. You all know what they took from us. They think we're vermin. Let's show them what vermin can do when you push them too far. Attack pattern Fenrir. On my mark." She waited until all 50 ships were in position. The Wraith fighters formed a sphere around the Dominion fleet, invisible and silent. Mark. 50 ships decloaked at once and fired. Plasma torpedoes and kinetic missiles hit the Dominion cruisers from every direction. The enemy ships' shields flared and collapsed under the sudden barrage. Explosions rippled across their hulls. Enemy vessels attempting to return fire, Ghost reported. "They cannot achieve target lock. Our stealth systems are cycling too quickly." Yunji's ship dove and spun. Ghost fed her targeting data directly into her mind. She didn't have to look at screens or read numbers. She just knew where to aim, where to fly, how to dodge. It felt like the ship was part of her body. The battle lasted 7 minutes. When it was over, 23 Dominion cruisers were destroyed or crippled. Not a single Wraith ship was lost. Yunji sat in her cockpit, breathing hard. Her mind felt strange, stretched thin. She could hear Ghost's thoughts mixing with her own. Or were they her thoughts? She couldn't quite tell. "Commander Yoon, you are experiencing minor neural integration symptoms," Ghost said. "This is normal. It will fade," but Yunji wasn't sure it would. She could feel the AI in her head, comfortable and familiar. Part of her was already starting to forget where she ended and Ghost began. "All ships return to base," she said. Her voice sounded distant to her own ears. When she landed and removed her helmet, Dr. Song was waiting. "How do you feel?" he asked. Yunji wanted to say she felt fine, but that would be a lie. The message arrived at Earth on a secure diplomatic channel. It came from someone humanity had never heard of before. Kelros of the Thalane Confederation. The Thalanes were a peaceful species known for meditation and philosophy. They had no military fleet. They had no interest in conquest. But they had respect across the galaxy as neutral mediators. Ambassador Heejin Park read the message 3 times to make sure she understood it correctly. To the United Earth Government, "We have watched your conflict with the Dominion with growing concern. Both sides have committed acts that violate the principles of civilized warfare. We believe this conflict will spread and consume more innocent lives unless it is stopped. The Galactic Senate requests that both humanity and the Dominion meet for peace negotiations on neutral ground. We offer the Thalan homeworld as the location. We believe this war can end without further bloodshed. Please consider this offer carefully." Heejin brought the message to the council immediately. Councillor Subin Huang read it and felt hope for the first time in months. "This is it. This is our chance to end this war." Admiral Choi was less optimistic. "It's a trap. The Dominion will use negotiations to stall while they regroup their forces. Or maybe they're genuinely worried, Subin said. Our Wraith ships have destroyed 40% of their fleet. Project Fenrir's drones have crippled their supply lines. Maybe they're looking for a way out. The Dominion doesn't surrender, Admiral Choi said. They conquer or they die trying. Then we should still go, Hyejin said. Both of them looked at her. Even if it's a trap, we should go. The galaxy is watching. If we refuse peace talks, we look like the aggressors. But if we attend and the Dominion rejects reasonable terms, then other species might finally support us. Admiral Choi thought about it. Finally, he nodded. Fine, we'll send a delegation. But we don't stop military operations, not until a treaty is signed and verified. 3 weeks later, Ambassador Park arrived at the Thalan homeworld. It was a beautiful planet of blue oceans and green continents. The Thalanes had built their cities in harmony with nature. No tall buildings, no industry. Just peaceful communities living simple lives. The peace conference took place in an open-air pavilion overlooking the ocean. Kalros greeted them personally. He was tall and thin with pale blue skin and large eyes. He spoke in a soft, calming voice. Welcome, Ambassador Park. Thank you for coming. We know this is difficult for your people. Thank you for hosting us, Hyejin said. She looked around. Delegates from a dozen other species had come to observe. But the Dominion delegation hadn't arrived yet. Then they did. 7 Dominion ships appeared in orbit. Landing craft descended. And High Archon Velrith himself stepped out. Hyejin felt her hands clench into fists. This was the being who had ordered the massacre of New Haven, who had called humanity vermin, who had killed 127,000 children. Velrith looked at her with his 4 eyes and showed no emotion. Ambassador Park, how unfortunate that we meet under these circumstances. Unfortunate? Hyejin's voice was ice. You murdered an entire colony. You started this war. We exercised our right to protect our territory. Velrith said calmly. Your expansion was aggressive and unwelcome. We gave you a warning. You chose to ignore it. Kalros stepped between them. Please let us sit and talk. Violence only breeds more violence. There must be a path to peace. They sat at a large circular table. Other species representatives watched from observation seats. The Thalanes served drinks and asked everyone to take a moment of meditation before beginning. Velrith spoke first. The Dominion's terms are simple. Humanity will withdraw from all colony worlds. You will dismantle your military fleet. You will accept vassal status under Dominion protection. In exchange, we will allow Earth to survive. Hyejin stared at him. You want us to give up everything, to become your subjects, after you murdered 340,000 of our people. You should be grateful we're offering terms at all, Velrith said. We could simply wait for your resources to run out and then finish what we started. Your stealth ships are impressive, but they cannot win this war. We have the larger fleet, the stronger economy. Time is on our side, is it? Hyejin asked quietly. She touched a control panel. A holographic projection appeared above the table. It showed a star map of the galaxy. Red markers indicated Dominion territory. Blue markers showed human space. And purple markers showed something else. Dominion supply lines being systematically destroyed by Project Fenrir's drones. Your fleets are running out of fuel, Hyejin said. Your forward bases are running out of ammunition. Your colony worlds are running out of food. We've destroyed 600 of your supply ships in 3 months.
How long can you sustain this war?
Velrith's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Temporary setbacks. We are adapting our tactics, are you? Hyejin brought up another image. This one showed a battle report from 2 days ago. A Dominion battle group had been ambushed near the Carina Nebula. 15 ships destroyed. 0 human casualties. Our Wraith pilots get better with every engagement. Your ships still can't detect them. How many more fleets are you willing to lose? The observers murmured. Other species had been watching the war closely. They were starting to realize that humanity might actually win. Velrith leaned forward. Then let me be clear about what will happen if this war continues. The Dominion will authorize the use of planet-killer weapons. We will not simply bombard your colonies. We will crack your worlds like eggs. Every human settlement will be wiped from existence. And when we are done with your colonies, we will come for Earth itself. The pavilion fell silent. Planet-killer weapons were banned by galactic law. They were considered crimes against all sentient life. But Velrith had just threatened to use them. Kalros stood up. High Archon, you cannot be serious. Such weapons would violate— I am very serious, Velrith interrupted. Humanity has shown itself to be a plague upon this galaxy. They use artificial intelligence. They deploy weapons of mass destruction. They refuse to accept their proper place. If they will not submit, they will be eradicated. Hijin looked around the pavilion. The other species representatives looked uncomfortable. Some looked scared. No one spoke up to defend humanity. She stood up slowly. Then I think it's time you understood something, High Archon. You've seen humanity at peace. You've seen us as farmers and scientists and families. You called us vermin. You murdered our children to prove your point. She touched the control panel again. This time the hologram showed something new. A recorded message. Dr. Taejin Song appeared, looking exhausted and haunted. My name is Dr. Taejin Song, the recording said. I am the lead weapons designer for the United Earth government. I am going to describe the weapons we have kept in reserve. The weapons we hoped we would never have to use. The recording showed technical specifications, nanomachine plagues that could consume entire planets, antimatter warheads that could be deployed from undetectable stealth ships, and the most terrible, hyperspace destabilizers that could collapse the jump routes between star systems, cutting off entire regions of space permanently. These weapons represent our species' darkest capabilities. Dr. Song's recording continued. We built them because we survived a war that nearly destroyed us. We learned that if you want to prevent extinction, you must be willing to do terrible things. He paused. The Dominion murdered 340,000 of our people. They called it pest control. They promised to do it again. So let me be very clear. If the Dominion will not allow humanity to exist peacefully, then we will ensure the Dominion does not exist at all. We will deploy these weapons. We will burn entire star systems. We will collapse the galactic economy. We will make sure that everyone suffers if we are not allowed to live in peace. The recording ended. The pavilion was silent. Every observer looked shocked. Some looked horrified. Velrith stood up. His face was calm, but Hijin could see the calculation in his eyes. You're bluffing. You wouldn't dare use such weapons, wouldn't we? Hijin asked. She pulled up another image. This one showed a Wraith ship in orbit around the Dominion homeworld. It had been there for 3 days. Undetected. That ship carries an antimatter warhead. One shot could kill 3 billion of your people. We've had it in position since before this conference began. Velreth's eyes went wide. That's impossible. Our defense systems cannot detect our stealth ships. You know this. You've lost hundreds of vessels to them. Hijin leaned forward. Here's the truth, High Archon. We didn't come to this conference to beg for peace. We came to offer you a way to survive. Because if this war continues, we will destroy you. Maybe you'll destroy us too. Maybe the entire galaxy will burn. But we've decided that's acceptable. We would rather die fighting than live as your slaves. She stood up and looked at the observers. Let me address everyone here. We know you're all watching. We know you've been waiting to see who wins this war. Well, here's your answer. Nobody wins. If the Dominion pushes us to extinction, we'll take them with us. And the weapons we use will make space travel dangerous for centuries. Trade routes will collapse. The galactic economy will fail. Everyone will suffer. Kelros looked pale. Ambassador Park, you cannot mean this. The costume is acceptable, Hijin said, because you need to understand something about humanity. We are not like the other species, you know. 6 days after the peace conference, High Archon Velreth sent his response. It came in the form of an official transmission to Earth, broadcast to the entire Galactic Senate. The Dominion accepts humanity's terms, the message said. His voice was steady, but everyone could hear the defeat in it. We will withdraw from all human territories. We will provide reparations. We formally recognize human sovereignty. He paused, and we acknowledge that the destruction of New Haven was an error in judgment. It wasn't the full apology humanity had demanded, but it was enough. The war was over. Across human space, people celebrated in the streets. They had survived. They had won against an empire that ruled half the galaxy. But in the command centers and military bases, the leaders who had made it happen felt no joy. Admiral Choi stood in his office and looked at the casualty reports. 340,000 dead on New Haven, 45,000 on Harmony Station, another 60,000 across various battles and attacks. Nearly 500,000 human lives lost. The Dominion had lost more, much more. But the numbers didn't make him feel better. Commander Yoon Ji-yoon sat in a medical facility undergoing tests. The doctors had removed her neural interface helmet for the last time. Ghost was gone from her mind, but so was most of her. "Can you tell me your mother's name?" the doctor asked. Yoonji stared at the wall. She knew she had a mother. The records showed photos, but her memories were gone, compressed, deleted to make room for tactical data that she no longer needed. "No," she said. "I can't. What about your sister?" Yoonji closed her eyes. She remembered that her sister had died. She remembered that it hurt, but she couldn't remember her sister's face. Couldn't remember her voice. It was like trying to recall a dream that had faded. Her name was... Yoonji stopped. The name was gone. Just gone. The doctor looked at her chart and said gently, "Minji." Her name was Minji. "Minji," Yoonji repeated. The word meant nothing. It was just sounds. The doctor wrote something down. "Commander, you've retained your combat training and operational knowledge, but approximately 70% of your personal memories are gone. They were overwritten by the AI integration. I'm sorry, but there's no way to recover them." Yoonji nodded. She felt like she should be upset, but she couldn't remember what being upset felt like anymore. "Can I go home?" "Where is home?" the doctor asked. Yoonji thought about it. Where was home? She couldn't remember. Earth? Maybe, but she had no memory of living there. No memory of family or friends or a life before the war. "I don't know," she said. Dr. Taejin Song visited her the next day. He looked older than his years. The guilt of what his weapons had done had carved deep lines into his face. "Commander Yoon," he said, "I wanted to tell you, I'm sorry. I built the Wraith program. I destroyed your mind to save humanity, and I will never forgive myself for it." Yoonji looked at him. "Did we win?" "Yes, we won." "Then it was worth it," Yoonji said. But there was no emotion in her voice. Just fact. Dr. Song left the facility and went to a small apartment he had rented. He sat down at a desk and wrote a message. It was addressed to the United Earth government, to Admiral Choi, to everyone who had authorized his research. "I have saved humanity by creating weapons that destroy the human soul. I cannot live with what I have done. The Wraith pilots gave their minds so that others could live. I am responsible for taking those minds. This is a debt I cannot repay. I hope the people we saved build a better world than the one we left them." He sent the message. Then he walked to the balcony and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, humanity was celebrating its victory. Children were playing. Families were reuniting. People were planning for the future. Dr. Taejin Song stepped off the balcony. He was found the next morning by neighbors who heard the impact. Captain Ji-hoon Kang never went back to active duty. He took a transport ship to the ruins of New Haven and applied for a permit to stay there. The planet was officially dead. The atmosphere was still toxic. The cities were still rubble. But there was a memorial being built near what had been the capital. Ji-hoon volunteered to help with construction. He worked every day planting flowers in soil that had been sterilized and rebuilt. Each flower represented one of the 127,000 children who had died in the attack. Sometimes he would stand among the flowers and whisper their names. All of their names. It took hours, but he did it every week. Other survivors came to New Haven too. They built small communities in protective domes. They tended the memorial. They remembered. One day, a young woman approached Ji-hoon. "Excuse me, are you Captain Kang?" "Just Ji-hoon now," he said. "I'm not a captain anymore. You commanded the Steadfast. You were the first one to arrive after..." She gestured at the dead planet around them. "Too late," Ji-hoon said. "I arrived too late to save anyone." "But you were here," the woman said. "You tried. And the survivors you rescued, they told people what happened. They made sure the galaxy knew the truth." She paused. "My family lived here. My parents and my younger brother. They died in the initial bombardment. I was off-planet for school. Sometimes I feel guilty that I survived when they didn't." Ji-hoon looked at her. He saw the same haunted expression he saw in his own mirror every morning. "We all feel that way," he said. "The ones who survived. But maybe that's our job now. To remember. To make sure it never happens again." The woman nodded and walked away. Ji-hoon went back to planting flowers. On Earth, Counselor Subin Huang addressed humanity one last time before stepping down from her position. The speech was broadcast across all human worlds. "We have survived," she said. "We have defeated an empire that thought we were vermin. We have proven that humanity cannot be extinguished easily. But I want to talk about the cost of our victory. She pulled up images of the Wraith pilots, Yunji and the others who had sacrificed their minds. These people gave everything, not just their lives, but their memories, their identities. They became weapons so that we could live. We owe them a debt we can never repay. She showed images of Dr. Song. This man created the tools of our salvation, and it destroyed him. He couldn't live with what he had done, even though what he did saved billions of lives. She showed images of New Haven. 340,000 people died there. 127,000 of them were children. They were learning math and science and art. They were dreaming about their futures. The Dominion took those futures away and called it pest control. Subin's voice became harder. In response, we became something terrible. We threatened to use weapons that would kill billions. We built machines that hunt and kill without mercy. We turned our own people into half-human weapons, and we would have done worse. If the Dominion had not surrendered, we would have deployed planet killers. Biological weapons, nanomachine plagues. We would have burned the galaxy to ash rather than accept defeat. She paused. I want every human to understand this. We won because we were willing to become monsters. The Dominion feared us not because we were good, but because we were willing to be evil. They surrendered because they realized we would do anything, sacrifice anything, destroy anything to survive. The speech continued for another 20 minutes. Sabin talked about the need to remember what they had lost, the need to honor those who had sacrificed, but most importantly, the need to never forget what they had become. The galaxy now fears humanity, she said, and perhaps they are right to fear us. We have proven that we are survivors. But we must also prove that we are more than just survivors. We must show that we can be guardians of peace while remembering the lessons of war. We must honor our dead by building a civilization worthy of their sacrifice. When the speech ended, Subin stepped down from public life. She moved to a quiet colony world and spent her remaining years teaching children. She never spoke about the war again. Ambassador Heejin Park stayed in diplomatic service. She spent the next decade working to repair humanity's relationship with other species. It was hard work. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of when threatened. Trade was difficult. Alliances were fragile. Other species treated human space like a quarantine zone. But slowly, things improved. Humans proved that they could be peaceful, that they could be trusted, that the weapons they had built were defensive, not aggressive. But the weapons still existed. The Wraith program was officially shut down, but the specifications were kept in secure archives. Project Fenrir's factories were dismantled, but everyone knew they could be rebuilt in months. The galaxy remembered what humanity could do if pushed, and humanity remembered too. 50 years after the war ended, a history teacher named Hyerin stood in front of her class on a colony world far from Earth. Her students were young, born long after the war. They knew about it only from history books. Today we're going to talk about the New Haven Massacre and the Dominion War, Hyerin said. She brought up images of New Haven before the attack. Beautiful cities. Green farmland. Happy families. Then she showed them the after images. Scorched earth. Melted cities. Nothing alive. The students were quiet. One boy raised his hand. Teacher, if the Dominion attacked us again today, would we fight back the same way? Hyerin thought about the question carefully. She thought about Commander Yunji, who had lost her mind to save humanity. About Dr. Song, who had created weapons and couldn't live with the guilt. About Captain Kang, who spent 50 years planting flowers for children he couldn't save. 3 months after the Battle of Eden Colony, Commander Yunji Yoon couldn't remember her mother's face. She knew she had a mother. The record said so. But when she tried to picture her, there was only static in her mind. Ghost filled the empty spaces now. She sat in the pilot ready room waiting for her 12th mission briefing. Around her, other Wraith pilots prepared their equipment. Some talked quietly. Others sat in silence, staring at nothing. You could always tell how many missions a pilot had flown by looking at their eyes. New pilots had fire in them. Anger. Purpose. Veteran pilots had something else, something empty. Yunji looked at her hands. They didn't feel like hers anymore. They felt like tools. Extensions of the Wraith ship. Extensions of Ghost. You are experiencing advanced neural integration, Ghost said in her mind. Your human memories are being compressed to make room for tactical data. This improves our combat efficiency by 47%. I know, Yunji said aloud. Some of the other pilots glanced at her. They knew she was talking to her AI. They all did it eventually. Dr. Taijin Song entered the room. He looked worse than ever. The guilt of what his weapons were doing ate at him every day. But he kept working because humanity needed his weapons to survive. Mission briefing, he announced. A Dominion supply convoy is heading through the Kepler corridor. 12 transport ships with military escorts. Intelligence says they're carrying ammunition and food to Dominion forward bases. If we destroy this convoy, their fleet will run out of supplies in 3 weeks. Yunji stood up. How many escorts? 8 heavy cruisers. They're expecting trouble. They've been scanning for stealth ships. They won't find us, Yunji said. Ghost agreed silently in her mind. The mission launched 2 hours later. 30 Wraith ships jumped into hyperspace and emerged in the Kepler corridor. The Dominion convoy was right where intelligence said it would be. 12 massive cargo ships surrounded by 8 warships. Enemy vessels are using advanced scanning protocols, Ghost reported. They are searching for us. We must strike quickly before they detect our quantum signatures. Yunji opened the combat channel. All ships attack Pattern Reaper. Target the escorts first, the transports can't fight back. The Wraith ships dove in. This time the Dominion was more prepared. Their ships had been modified with new sensors. 2 of the escorts managed to detect Wraith fighters and returned fire. 1 human ship exploded. Another was damaged and had to retreat. But the rest pressed the attack. Within 10 minutes, all 8 escorts were destroyed. The cargo ships tried to flee, but they were too slow. The Wraith fighters closed in. Commander Yoon, Ghost said, I am detecting life signs on the transport ships. Approximately 4,000 Dominion personnel, mostly logistics workers, some civilians. Yunji's finger hovered over the firing control. In her mind, she saw New Haven burning. She saw the casualty reports. 127,000 children. They had called it pest control. Fire, she said. The transport ships exploded one by one. All 12 of them. 4,000 Dominion lives ended in bright flashes of light. When Yunji returned to base, Dr. Song was waiting with a medical team. Commander, you need to take a break. Your neural integration levels are dangerous. If you fly again, you might not come back as yourself. I don't want to come back as myself, Yunji said. Myself had a sister who drew pictures of fish. Myself had dreams and hopes. That person is dead. Ghost and I are what's left. And we're good at killing. Dr. Song looked like he wanted to cry. This is my fault. I built these weapons. I'm destroying you piece by piece. Yunji touched his shoulder. The gesture felt mechanical. You're saving humanity, that's what matters. But it wasn't just the Wraith pilots who were changing. All across human space, Project Fenrir was reaching full production. The hidden factories churned out weapons day and night. Thousands of autonomous hunter-killer drones poured into space. They were simple machines with one purpose: find Dominion ships and destroy them. The drones didn't need pilots. They didn't need rest. They hunted in packs like wolves, tracking Dominion vessels through hyperspace and attacking their supply lines. Dominion fleet started running out of fuel, out of ammunition, out of food. High Archon Velrith called an emergency session of his military council. Explain to me how we are losing to a species we could have crushed 3 months ago, he demanded. A military commander stepped forward nervously. Supreme Archon, the humans are not fighting like we expected. They use stealth ships we cannot detect. They use automated weapons that need no crews. They attack our supply lines and disappear. This is not honorable warfare. Honorable? Velrith's voice was ice. They are vermin. Since when do we care about honor when dealing with vermin? He stood up. If they will not fight honorably, then neither will we. Target their civilian installations, space stations, research habitats, mining colonies. Show them that two can play this game of terror. A week later, Harmony Station died. It was a research habitat where human scientists studied asteroid mining. 45,000 people lived there, families, students, researchers. It had no military value. The Dominion sent 3 ships and destroyed it without warning. No evacuation, no mercy. Just like New Haven. When Captain Jihoon Kang heard the news, he was on Eden Colony, supervising the evacuation of civilians. The colony was being abandoned because intelligence said another Dominion attack was coming. Jihoon had been working around the clock, moving children onto transport ships, trying to save as many lives as possible. Every child he carried reminded him of his own kids, the ones he couldn't save. Now Harmony Station was gone. More children dead, more families erased. Jihoon sat down in an empty building and let himself cry for the first time since New Haven. He cried for his children, for his wife, for the 45,000 people on Harmony Station, for all the innocence that the war had burned away. When he was done crying, he felt empty, hollow. And in that hollow space, something cold and hard grew. On Earth, Ambassador Heejin Park tried one more time to reach out to other species in the Galactic Senate. She sent messages to every civilization. The Dominion is committing genocide. They attacked us without cause. They are murdering civilians. Please, help us. The responses came back one by one. All of them said the same thing. We cannot interfere in Dominion affairs. We are sorry. Nobody wanted to challenge the Empire's might. Nobody wanted to risk their own safety for humanity's sake. The galaxy watched humans die and did nothing. Heejin stopped sending messages after that. She realized that humanity was alone. There would be no galactic cavalry coming to save them. If they were going to survive, they would have to do it themselves. And that meant using every weapon they had, no matter how terrible. Admiral Choi called a secret meeting with Earth's Council. I have a proposal, he said. Dr. Song's team has developed new weapons. Weapons we held back because they're too dangerous. But after Harmony Station, I think it's time we reconsider. He brought up holographic displays. The first showed microscopic machines, nanomachine swarms. Released into space, they can consume enemy ships from the inside, eat through hulls, destroy systems, kill crews. We could deploy them near Dominion forward bases. The second display showed a biological weapon, a targeted plague. It only affects Dominion species. We could release it on their colony worlds. It would kill billions. The third display showed massive kinetic weapons. Asteroid bombardment. We take asteroids, accelerate them to near light speed, and drop them on Dominion civilian targets. Cities would be wiped out instantly. Counselor Subin Huang stood up. Her face was pale. Admiral, you're describing war crimes. Genocide. If we do these things, we become exactly what the Dominion is. The Dominion started this, Admiral Choi said. They murdered our children. They called us vermin. Are we supposed to die with our morals intact? If we lose our morals, what are we saving? Subin asked. If we become monsters to defeat monsters, then the monsters have already won. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some delegates agreed with the admiral. They wanted revenge, they wanted the Dominion to suffer. Others sided with Subin. They wanted to win the war without losing their humanity. The debate lasted hours. Finally, Subin called for a vote. All in favor of authorizing these new weapons? The vote was close. Very close. In the end, the new weapons were rejected by a margin of 3 votes. Admiral Choi accepted the decision, but everyone could see the disappointment in his eyes. Then we fight with what we have, he said. And we pray it's enough. That night, Yoon Ji-yoon prepared for her 13th mission. Dr. Song tried to stop her. Commander, please. Your brain scans show that Ghost is occupying 70% of your neural pathways. If you fly again, you might not be Yoonji anymore. You might just be Ghost in a human body. Yoonji looked at him. Her eyes were distant, empty. Good, she said. Yoon Ji-yoon had a sister who loved marine biology. That girl is dead. Ghost is better. Ghost doesn't feel pain, doesn't feel loss. Ghost just fights. She walked to her wraith ship. Behind her, Dr. Song watched and wondered if he had created weapons or demons, or if there was any difference anymore. In space, the war continued. Dominion fleets hunted for human colonies. Wraith ships hunted Dominion fleets. Automated drones killed supply ships. The death toll climbed on both sides, and both sides wondered the same thing. How do you win a war when winning means becoming the thing you're fighting against?